Live from the bedroom studio in Tampa, Florida, it is FSPA award-winning show Early Evening at Home with your host, Connell Vassar, featuring guest Marc Mero. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, your host, Connell Vassar. Thank you guys so much. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Early Evening at Home. I am your host, Connell Vassar. Now, we're still here in the bedroom studios. It seems like you guys really enjoyed it, so we'll keep this going. Now, this week, we have a lot of great and fun stories, so let's get to them. Recently, the magazine Complex News tweeted out that Billie Eilish completed a whole song during quarantine. Wow. Congratulations, Billie. You've done a great job. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's young Kanye West. He's just finished making 5 beats a day for 3 summers. Oh, is that somebody else? Oh yeah, it's Charlie XCX who just created a whole album during quarantine. By the way... Recently, H3H3 Productions and Killer Keemstar have become a part of a huge internet feud on YouTube. Now, H3H3 started it out by making a video about Keemstar's past transgressions against the YouTube community, which has involved doxing multiple people, being very toxic to the community, and taking advantage of people who weren't in the right state of mind and interviewing them and getting a lot of clicks from people who really didn't need to be interviewed during that time. Now, H3H3 isn't clean in all of this. They insinuated that their fans should go out and attack G Fuel, one of Keemstar's first sponsors. Now, G Fuel and Keemstar have been together for 10 years, and now that is not anymore. They're not together anymore, which is kind of sad. It was one of the first big partnerships we saw. Now, Keemstar, of course, is a very toxic person, but still, that was kind of a rude thing to do by H3H3. They could have stayed clean in all of this, but they chose to take it an extra step, and it wasn't very wise for them. But come on, guys, it's 2020. H3H3 is 63 years old and has a kid, and who was watching Keemstar anyways? Come on. Now for our last story. We have a royal decree from Lord Zach of House Snyder. Lord Joseph House Whedon has been vanquished. Fanboys everywhere, unite, for the Snyder Cut is coming. Now for our guest, he is former WWE Intercontinental Champion, WCW Television Champion, and one of the greatest school and company speakers I've ever heard. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Marc Mero.
Hey guys, it's Marc Mero, America's favorite school presenter. I am here at our studio in Maitland, Florida. And you know, it's been unfortunate with this pandemic. You haven't been able to go to school, and unfortunately, I can't come and see you guys. But you know what? Things are about to change. We built a new studio here, and we're doing live virtual presentations for your classroom, for your entire school, for your entire community. You know, you can't have a comeback without a setback. Marc Mero's back.
Thank you, Connell. Today we're here with former WWE Intercontinental Champion, WCW World Television Champion, and world-renowned school speaker, Marc Mero. How are you doing today, Marc?
My friend, it's great to see you. I'm doing great, man. It's like everybody's going through something right now, but it's not about the situation or circumstance, how you respond to it that makes all the difference. And, you have to take a different response to something or it could get really depressing or really, the anxiety can really flare up in ways that can hurt a lot of people.
Right. This is something that I've been doing every week. Give me some semblance of normal to feel like everything is going to be okay, and it has really helped me. So I really appreciate you coming on. And so let's get right into the questions. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So.
Well, I've always been into sports. I played hockey, football. I was a boxer. I won the New York State Golden Gloves year after year. And then, of course, I got into wrestling and then, went to WCW wrestling for many years, then WWE. And my last match was in 2006, but I've wrestled everybody. You talking about the Triple H, The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Big Show, DDP, the list goes on, Sting, the list goes on and on of the who's who in The Rock, the list goes on of who's who in professional wrestling. So it was a long career, 14 years I wrestled. And then I got into inspirational speaking, just going to schools and talking to students, about setting goals and going after dreams and doing well in life, man. I mean, I've lived such an incredible life, but there's a lot of ups and downs. And I'm very honest where my good choices took me, but I'm blatantly honest where those bad choices took me. And I really hope that it helps other students not make the same mistakes that I made.
So I've been lucky enough to see you speak in person at the IADCA conference. And how does it feel to be able to touch people and help people who are feeling a little bit down on themselves? How does it feel to lift their spirits and turn their life around?
It's the greatest, Connell. I tell you, there's no greater joy than helping another person. And, especially after a presentation where someone will say, man, you really changed my life today. Or you get a letter or something that someone says, you saved my life. And you don't realize we never know what someone else is going through. And, it's just, it's a blessing. I think it's kind of like my therapy. I've been through a lot in my life, but getting up there and helping other people has really helped me.
Right. So why did you decide to start speaking at schools?
Well, especially, knowing that, students, you guys got a lot of situations you go through, man. It's not like when I was a kid, and not that we didn't also have, bullying and things like that. But now, there's so many kids that are dealing with depression and anxiety and self-harm or suicidal thoughts. And it's like knowing that I have an opportunity to help these students, and then also, kids that have been bullying other kids, they go, man, what am I doing? There's no joy in that. You might have your friends laugh at you or think it's funny for a bit, but in the end, it's like our words can tear someone down or maybe even literally kill somebody because of them wanting to end their life because of something that you said or did to them. Because maybe you don't know that their parents just got divorced. Maybe you don't know that they just had to put down their family pet, or they're going through a really hard time, or had a breakup with their boyfriend or girlfriend that's just so detrimental at that moment for them. You just don't know what they're going through.
So I know that you really, really love to do the inspirational speaking, and right now it's hard to do that with the pandemic situation going on. How are you taking steps to get back out there or to speak to schools and to companies virtually?
Well, we built a studio here at our office at Maitland, Florida, and we just had it finished, but we've already done 3 schools. We have another one on Tuesday. Wow. And it is different. It's a little more challenging. See, I like to be in front of students where I can see them, and you see the emotion, you see the roller coaster of a presentation. But the cool thing is, even though I can't always see them, it depends on what format we have. If it's Zoom, you can see, many of the students, but most times we're doing different formats where you don't see anybody. But the cool thing is like, I was so surprised to see how many messages I received after on how it did change their life, or they really enjoyed it. So, it makes me realize that I don't have to be there in person. I can still make a difference. And that's what I plan to do until I can go back, until, they open the schools back up where they have, presentations in gyms or auditoriums. And I can't wait for that. But in the meantime, I'm going to do everything I can to continue to make a difference in other people's lives.
So I know you know that I really really love wrestling. So I wanted
Yes,
to
I
ask
do.
you a couple questions about
Sure.
the state of wrestling today. So the present day, I would call it an independent wrestling revolution with AEW kind of popping up out of independent wrestling circuits kind of banding together. And how does that differ from when you were starting up in the independent circuit?
Well, I was really blessed, Connell. I only did I had just a couple of matches independent, and because I would drive 9 hours to hopefully get picked to be when WCW they'd have you get to wrestle one of the superstars on TV, and they pay you like $150 to get your butt kicked or something. And so I would drive there 9 hours, but it was only my I think my second time ever going that Dusty Rhodes saw me and he said, man, I got a job for you, and that's when I signed a big contract with WCW Wrestling. But I got to tell you, it's wrestling. It's just exploded, especially on the independent scene. There are so many indie wrestlers out there, which it's given people more of an opportunity. But the hard part is there's only a couple real big games in town, meaning that you either have WWE, maybe AEW, or TNA or some of the, and then there's some smaller ones, but it's hard to make a living at it. I mean, these guys are doing independent. They're also working full-time jobs and then risking their health, wrestling because, man, I've had 14 surgeries. I know how detrimental it is to my body, so I can imagine working a full-time job and then, breaking a leg or tweaking your shoulder or something and having to go to work and support your family. So it's a real dedication for these guys, and I commend them for it.
So you mentioned that it was around like your second time going that Dusty Rhodes saw you. Can you tell me? I've always heard people talk about him. What was Dusty Rhodes like?
I love that guy. Okay. I mean, think about this. He gave me my break in life. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going from making, digging swimming pools at that time, working a full-time job and then going up to Atlanta to hopefully land hopefully someone noticed me to be in professional wrestling. And he gave me my first job. And I got to tell you, I got to work with him because he invented the character Johnny B. Bad. You remember that was my first character in WCW
Right.
Wrestling. It was a very flamboyant, outrageous character, much like Dusty Rhodes.
Right.
So he would do stuff like with this. He goes, now listen, kid, I want you to listen to me. Do it like this. And he go, I'm so outrageous, it's contagious. And he'd be so like wild. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? I can't copy Dusty Rhodes, but he got it so I can get it down, But the joy when I look back on my life that I got to spend so many hours alone with Dusty Rhodes. I mean, working on the character and developing it and stuff. And he'd show me, like, we'd go to the ring early and he'd do like the walk and talk and he was so funny, because he'd go overboard with it. And I was like, Dusty, I can't do that, man. So a lot of great memories, and it's funny because even when I hear his name, it brings such a joy to my heart and a smile to my face. He just was an amazing guy, and I miss him so much.
Now, you worked a lot with Dusty. How is it to see his legacy be carried on with Cody and with Dustin and how successful they are right now? They are building their own empire and putting on some pretty spectacular matches as well.
So proud of those guys. I mean, I wrestled Dustin many, many times, and Cody and I were never in the same leagues at the same time. But in fact, one of the crazy moves I did was called the Wild Thing, which was that shooting star press off the top rope. Dustin Rhodes was the first one to allow me to do it to him, and it was SummerSlam. Now, this is pay-per-view. I've never done it before, okay? I've never even tried it before. Wow. I just had this idea to do this at SummerSlam. And so when we went out beforehand to show him where I was going to stand, he goes, no, I don't want to even try it. Just do it live. And it was like, oh, my gosh. I remember in SummerSlam, now you got, I don't know, whatever, 15, 20,000 people there live and, so many people watching on pay-per-view around the world. And I'm thinking, I'm climbing this rope. I've never done this before. And I'm going to do this. And he's laying out. I just like Simone dropped him where he was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I climbed to the top rope and I'm just going, oh my gosh, there's no turning back. It's like it's either do or die. And I nailed it. And he was the first one to allow me to do it. And then, of course, once I had it down. It was like, it was my finishing move, because that's when Vince goes, I want you to do that for your finishing move, which was really bad because you land really on your knees a lot, you know? So now here I am every day landing on my knees, and my body was just taking a beating, you know? So I've had total reconstruction of my knee. And so it wasn't the smartest finishing move. It wasn't easy like a Stone Cold Stunner or something like that, you know?
Right.
That's so efficient and effective and looks so cool, but you don't really hurt yourself doing it, you know?
Yeah. And there weren't a lot of people back then doing like the high flying moves, and especially guys of your size. Like you may see Shawn Michaels do it, but he obviously wasn't as big. You were a pretty big guy. So like, what is it like to see now, like some of these huge guys doing moves like that? Do you feel like, you know, you kind of push that forward a little bit?
Well, maybe so, but I'm just glad today that I'm not underneath them catching them. Okay, so, but yeah, you know, I brought a lot of new stuff too. That I was the first one ever to do a shooting star press at WWE. You know, some of the moves that I would do, like the TKO, is now, you know, a couple other guys use it in a version of it. You know, the F5, the RKO, which came from the TKO. So there's some things that were kind of innovative. The Mero salt, where I would face one way, jump up, spin, and do like a moonsault, was probably the craziest thing, because the ropes were always really slippy from the wrestlers putting so much oil on their bodies. So when you jump up and spin in midair, and then your feet have to hit the top ropes perfectly to do the moonsault, you know?
Right.
And luckily I never screwed it up or hurt anybody doing it, but it was always like in my mind thinking, oh gosh, I hope I don't slip off on this, you know, national TV, it's on Raw, it's because then it lives forever on YouTube.
Yeah. So do you at all keep up with WWE or NXT or anybody like that?
You know, I watch it once in a while. You know, it's been such a crazy, you know, up until this pandemic, I was doing, you know, 250 events a year. So I was always on the road, always traveling, dealing with a lot of students with issues and things like that. So there was a lot of emails going back and forth. So I didn't really have a lot of time to watch the product, you know, that's on now. I'm just so glad there's more competition, because competition always makes the product better. And now that you have AEW and WWE and TNA all vying for viewership, it's nice to see that competition.
So obviously you started in front of big crowds as a wrestler. Did that help you in any way prepare for being in front of big crowds as a public speaker?
You know, it's funny you ask that, Connell, because you think so, but I remember my first presentation was in front of just 60. Melbourne High School wanted me to come and speak to their football team. It was like 60 guys, you know? Mm-hmm. And I remember being so nervous. I mean, I wrestled in front of 80,000 people at the Alamo Dome, and now I'm in front of 60 guys, kids, students, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I help them. I hope I, you know? And it really went well, though. But it led to another school. They told another school about it, and they'd call me next time I'm doing full school assemblies. But, you know, it's funny, and I'll admit it, I still get nervous and get a little butterflies before it. But I'm actually thankful for that, because I never want to think like I can just call it in, or I can just go out there and do it. You know, I always want to know that I want to give my best. And when you're a little nervous, it really makes you really concentrate and want to do really well. I think it's when you're not nervous, and you might forget something, you not do it right, or have as much emotion involved. I really go back and relive moments in my life that make it very powerful.
Right. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, Con, I'm so proud of you, brother. You're doing so well, and great to see you. I can't wait to see you and your whole family again in person. Take care.
Sounds good. It's always great to talk to Mark. We want to thank him so much for coming on the show. He's a great person, a great friend. Thank you so much, Mark. And now, instead of a musical performance, we will have a couple clips of Mark speaking. Now, these are some very emotional clips, so be warned, there are some heavy topics covered, but it is a very, very good speech, and we hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching.
My mom would be at all my sporting events. Let's say I was playing football, okay? My mother would be on the sidelines, and if the play on the field started going one way, my mother would run along like, Mark, get him, I'd be like, oh my gosh. I'd get in the huddle with the other guys. They go, Mark, is that your mother? I go, no, I never saw her before in my life. See, the greatest gift my mother ever gave me, she believed in me. I have overdosed on drugs on 3 occasions where I should have been dead. But I believe I was kept here for a reason. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. How do I know this? I hung out with losers, and I became the biggest loser of them all because I gave up everything I dreamt about as a little boy because of who I chose to surround myself with. My friends would drive me home at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. We'd be drunk and high, laughing in the car. We'd pull up in front of my house in New York. They go, Mark, the light's on. I go, oh man, my mother's up. See, my mom wouldn't go to bed until she knew her son was still alive. I'd walk in, she'd say, hi, Mark, how was your night? I go, it was good, Mom, I'm just gonna go to bed. She goes, can I talk to you for a minute? I go, Mom, I'm tired, I'm just gonna go to bed. She goes, Mark, I haven't seen you all day and all night. Can I please talk to you? I said, man, just leave me alone. You bug me. I'd slam my bedroom door on the one person who believed in me. I was on a worldwide tour and we were wrestling overseas in Japan. After my wrestling match, I went upstairs in my hotel room and I fell asleep. There was a knock at my door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got out of bed and I looked through the safety window and I could see it was a Japanese promoter. So I opened the door and he said, Mark, you need to call home. There's been an emergency. I went and got on the hotel room phone. I called back to the United States. I said, hey, what's going on? They said, Mark, I don't know how to tell you this. I said, just tell me what happened. Now somebody started crying. They go, Mark, I can't tell you. I said, just say it. They said, Mark, your mother died. I just threw the phone down. I ran out of my hotel room. I took the elevator to the lobby, and when the doors opened up, I just ran out into the street. I mean, there was no cars, there was no people. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I walked down the middle of a street in Hiroshima, Japan, and I remember looking up and just saying, Mom, I am so sorry. I flew home for her funeral, and I was so nervous to walk up to her casket, so I just stood way in the back. And I kept looking from a distance. I kept thinking to myself, Mom, please wake up. Please get up. And then I finally got the nerve to walk up to her. And as I got closer, I could see my mom for the first time. I mean, she was so beautiful. She was dressed in white. I mean, she looked like an angel. And I just stood over and I said, Mom, you are my hero. Everything I am, everything I hope to be was because of you. You loved me so much. You gave me a life. You're the only one that ever believed in me. How did I repay her? By getting drunk, by getting high, by getting stupid, by hanging out with losers? For what? All she ever wanted to do was talk to me. I wish I could talk to you now, Mom. I wish you could see what I'm doing. Why couldn't I have been a better son? We are defined by our choices. But if you surround yourself with people involved in drugs and alcohol and pills, it's a dead end. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm here to tell you I lived that life. It leads to broken hearts, broken relationships, broken dreams, and death. For what? To get high? If you have a mother or a father, when you go home, tell them how much you love them. See, my whole life was about being rich and famous. I had to be a millionaire. I had to win the race. I had to win the race at the expense of my marriage, my family, my friends. For what? To be all alone in the world? I learned what is truly important, and that is how precious this gift of life is, and our families, and how quickly it can be taken away. See, I no longer live in time, I live in moments. See, it's not what's in your pocket that matters. It's what's in your heart that truly matters. Love is just a word until somebody comes along and gives it meaning. You're the meaning.